I start the morning off with coffee. Hold on. Alright, I just did a big ramble, but I also decided I think I am going to show you what I meant about something specific because I've got two things happening. I have my personal stuff that is me getting lost in a moment and then spewing it all over the canvas. And then I also have something else that's very near and dear to my heart. And the reason why it's near and dear to me is because, like I had said before, I'm obsessed with things that are simple, although you can't tell sometimes in my work. What I find interesting is that the world has a lot of, especially on social media, you're constantly seeing everybody's opinions and passions about political views, about economical views, about society and humanity as a whole. How are we supposed to interact with each other? We're talking about being kind, about being fair, about being just, but also being able to keep our future going, being able to do things for our children. The first thing I have to say is that any time that you have an emotion or an intent towards somebody that is not through love, safety, and happiness, you're wrong. But anyhow, I'm not going to get into politics. What I really wanted to say was that there's such a division in everything in the world. Everybody's divided by something. And of all of the politics and all of the divisions that I'm constantly seeing, I am not seeing anybody talk about the division of those that can see and those that cannot. So people who have lost their sight, the majority of their sight through various reasons, diseases, trauma, age, they're born that way, they don't know anything about sight. I had the privilege of going to a CNIB event. So the Canadian National Institute for the Blind had a convention for companies and for institutions that catered to the blind audience. And I went there with artwork and visual arts. What was I doing there? Well, what I was doing there was attempting to show that even though these are the visual arts, there is still something that the blind can enjoy. And I really learned a lot about the simplicities of life through a friend of mine who has lost her vision. And what I find really important was, of all of the men and women and children that I met that were blind, the most amazing thing about them was how they embraced life and how they embraced the simple things in life and how they embraced the challenges that they have and turn the challenges around into success. And what I really wanted to do with some of my artwork, because I have two things. I got, like I said before, my lost moments on canvas, but then I have very specific moments, and one of those very specific moments has to do with starting that conversation, like I said in my last video, starting the conversation between these two divided worlds. We've got two communities. We have the community of people who can see, and we have those who cannot, and there really are two different worlds. Make yourself blindfold for 2 hours and try to put yourself in their shoes. And it's an entirely different world. Your body has to completely readjust itself. So when I say two worlds, I really mean two worlds. So there's a lot of vision loss that people are not privy to understand or understand how much it impacts them, and it can happen to anybody. And losing your sight is probably one of the most hardest things to deal with. So what I've done is I've done some artwork that has Braille. I realize that not everybody with vision loss has learned Braille. It would be a great benefit for them to use it because it'll expand the world that they're in. But my point is, I'm going to set this down real quick so I can show you the painting. My point is that I want to take the visual world, and I don't want to make it exclusively for the blind, and I don't want to make it exclusively for the sighted. I want a painting that forces the two worlds, the two divided worlds, to come together and interact with each other to start a conversation. So I have been working with some people that have been motivating me, that have been really good at bringing forth more of the issues of the, vision loss. And I've taken a look at eye retina scans, eye diseases, and I've seen some great beauty in these rough black and white images. There are some great beauty involved, and I'm trying to take what I'm seeing from those and expand it into a visual arts project that allows the blind and the sighted to come together, interact together. So these paintings are specifically constructed so that this conversation can be started. In my dream, it would be two lines forming up to the painting where someone of sight and someone who has lost their sight come together and they experience the painting at the same time, and they tell each other what they've experienced. And that's how you start the conversation, is you put them in the same room and you give them something to talk about. This is the first piece that I did. I am actually getting ready to start my fifth. And there's going to be a lot more about this going on, but this is the first piece that I started. Hi. So, I'm also going to post an image of it so you can see. But I'll place it down here, and I'm going to give you a close-up of what I was talking about regarding how this painting is going to force the conversation between the two divided communities, the sighted and the blind. And what's important to know about this painting is that it's specific, it's a story. What I was talking about simplicity before was that this is a very simple color palette. So it's blues and it's whites. And I have in here a flower. It's a wishing flower, and the veins of the wishing flower are actually directly from a retina eye scan. The same thing with this one. This one is of a woman's eye, and this one is of a man's eye. And they're sending wishes out to each other across the vast ocean that separates them. And everything is blue and everything is white. It's not as textured as my goal is to be for future paintings. But this one still has been touched and explored by a blind woman. Actually, quite a few, because this is the one I took to the event. And everywhere that's white is very textured, and you can touch it. Touching an oil painting is a big no-no. Ooh. So what I've also done is made very textured here where the ocean waves are. Now, the reason why I'm going to let people touch my oil paintings is because I have Braille in the painting right here. Okay. Took a long time to construct that Braille into the painting, but the reason why I have that is because you're taking the privilege of the person who can see, that can explain the colors, that can explain what's going on visually. And then you're taking the privilege of someone who is blind and can read Braille and understand the message. Now, someone who doesn't know anything about being blind or Braille is going to look at that and go, wow, that's really neat, but I have no idea what that says. And that's the point. The one who can read Braille reads it to you. The one who can see explains it to you, explains the visual aspect, explains what's going on here. And then what we have written in Braille is related to the image on an emotional level. So you're taking a moment and you're taking an event and you're specifically allowing it to become an interaction, an emotional interaction, and not just a visual one. The visual art should not just be for those who can see. It should be accepted and it should be accessible to everybody. And what that says in Braille is let beauty be not in sight, but in how we touch each other's lives. And that's this conversation starter. And if we can get more people to start talking about the things that matter, the simple things that matter in life, the simple things that matter in each other and humanity, then perhaps your politics and your other areas of life will start to pay attention. Taking your divided communities, and instead of keeping them divided, let's find a way to start the conversation, keep the conversation going, and bring them together. Let's try. Let's start.